Do you recognize this? A legendary Nokia. Back in the day, you could drop one from the second floor, pick it up, and it would still. But today, I picked up the phone and pressed the power button. Nothing. Finally, I slammed it onto the table and the battery popped right out of the phone. I picked up both the phone and the battery, and suddenly, a pretty crazy idea flashed through my mind. First things first, it needed a cleanup. I grabbed a small plastic bottle cap and poured a bit of 90% ethanol alcohol into it. That sharp alcohol smell instantly brought back the feeling of old-school electronics repair sessions. Flipping the phone over, I used a tiny screwdriver to carefully pry open the SIM slot and remove the old SIM card. Inside was packed with dust and tiny spots of oxidation. Using a cotton swab dipped in alcohol, I carefully cleaned the battery contacts, the SIM slot, and every exposed section of the circuit board. Years of grime slowly disappeared, revealing brighter copper contacts underneath, especially the battery terminals. Those needed to be cleaned perfectly. They would become the most important part of today's secret project. While I was at it, I wiped down the keypad and screen too. In just a few minutes, the old Nokia suddenly looked refreshed, like it had been dragged straight out of a time machine. Next, I flipped the phone over again to inspect the battery contact pins. Perfect. Now for the more serious part. I heated up a soldering iron until it glowed hot, then used a small metal wire to solder across the phone's battery contact terminals. Thin trails of smoke curled upward, along with that familiar solder smell, making the whole thing feel like I was assembling some classified sci-fi gadget. Once the power terminals were finished, I reinserted the SIM card. Next came the power supply. I grabbed a white USB cable with one end cut off. Using a lighter, I carefully heated the wire tips so the insulation shrank back and exposed the copper cores inside. I clipped the red wire in place first, then coated the tip with a thin layer of solder for a stronger connection. After that, I repeated the same process with the white wire. When everything was ready, I soldered the red wire onto the modified battery terminal. The white wire was soldered onto another contact point nearby. Power section complete. At this point, the Nokia was starting to look less like a phone and more like a homemade laboratory experiment. I placed a small square wooden block on the table to serve as the base for the entire setup. Using a hot glue gun, I laid down a long strip of glue and mounted the Nokia upright onto the wood. After holding it steady for a few seconds, the phone stood firmly in place, like a tiny signal tower. Right beside it, I added another zigzag line of glue and attached a white phone charger face down onto the wooden base. Now everything was starting to connect together into one bizarre homemade machine. But the most important part was still coming. I pulled out a length of white coaxial cable. Using a utility knife, I carefully stripped the outer insulation to expose the silver shielding mesh and the copper core inside. Then I stripped back another section to fully expose the center copper wire. I attached a metal antenna jack connector and wrapped it tightly with red electrical tape to secure everything in place. But the other end of the cable was where things got really interesting. I stripped away the outer insulation again. Separated the silver shielding mesh, and removed the coating around the copper core. Next, I grabbed an old electrical plug. Using a screwdriver, I opened it up, revealing 2 copper power terminals inside. I inserted the cable's copper core into one terminal and tightened it down with a screw. The silver shielding mesh was attached to the other terminal. After tightening everything securely, I plugged the modified connector into the white charger mounted on the wooden base, all combined into a strange-looking system that nobody could possibly guess the purpose of. Time for the test. I turned on the TV, and the familiar message appeared on screen. No signal, absolutely nothing. I placed the homemade device beside the TV and plugged the red antenna jack into the antenna port on the back. Then I opened the settings menu with the remote, selected channel setup, and started automatic digital channel scanning. The progress bar began moving. 0 channels, 12 channels, 33 channels, 44 channels. The TV was actually detecting signal. I switched through several different channels: movies, entertainment, news, everything displayed with shockingly sharp quality. To test it further, I unplugged the antenna cable. Instantly, the TV returned to no signal. But when I plugged it back in, every single TV channel came right back. Unbelievable. Before ending the video, I just want to note that this is purely a fun DIY recycling project made to share creativity and a passion for electronics. I'm absolutely not encouraging signal interference or any illegal use. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next crazy DIY project. And see you next time.